But up until that point, though, I had already dropped out of high school. I was the quiet, really nice kid that flew under the radar, that I'm not going to tear up your class very much. I'm probably not going to show up at school, though. Right. I'm going to be doing all these other things. So when high school graduation time came around, I didn't have enough credits to graduate. And I had 2 jobs already. You know, Mom said either get a job or go to school. I'm like, I'm good. If we really get serious about helping all kids, could have been prevented.
Sure.
My dropping out could have been prevented. If I'm the only one in my family to drop out of all the kids, now I did go back to school, but it could have been prevented.
From the Center for Culturally Responsive Teaching and Learning, it's the Outrageous Love Podcast with your fabulous host, Dr. Shiraki Holly.
Greetings. Happy winter break. Happy holidays, depending on what you celebrate. This is our December end of year episode, and we traditionally kind of go off Educator, but today we are cheating because we have a educator and author, but we're focusing on the author side of things as we bring very special guests, very special friends who are in this year for us. It's been a very topsy-turvy year, and as I was looking back to last year and then where we were, things have, I don't know, I'm very interested in people's opinions on terms of have they gotten better or have they gotten worse? But nevertheless, this is a time of holidays and, you know, breaks from work and school and time with family, friends, regardless of the situation. So we want to focus on the peace, joy, and love aspect of things. Let's start by affirming ourselves. I want you to tell your faces that you're happy, bring in that joy, and share that joy with someone in your space with a smile or a high five or a handshake or wherever you are, right? Elbow. Because today is going to be a good day. In fact, today is going to be a great day, even when it's not, right? That's our mantra. That's what we're trying to support. Second affirmation. I got this one from a recent professional learning experience. It's called One Word Forward. And I want you to think of a word that kind of sums up 2025 for you. Kind of sums up 2025. And you want to carry that same word, that same spirit, that same joy into 2026. And, you know, the word I've been using since I started doing this activity at the beginning of the month is hopeful. Despite it all, I still remain hopeful. And I'm going to carry that into 2026. And I'm hoping that hope will turn into, fruition, seeing the fruits of our labor, seeing the outcomes that we desire, seeing the success that we deserve. So I still have hope. And I'm saying that in a very broad way, you know, politically, educationally, societally, personally. I am showing myself some love by focusing on the positive, and I remain hopeful. I have been hopeful in 2025 despite it all, and I'm carrying that hope into 2026. So what is your word? What is your word that has been with you for 2025 that's positive, and now you're going to carry into 2026? And now our last affirmation is to show some love to someone else. Staying on the vocabulary or the word theme, I just want you to share with someone in your circle, you know, something positive about them, you know, that you hope that they will remain steadfast in whatever that positivity is. I worked with a district recently. I'll go ahead and name them Rialto. Shout out to Rialto in the San Bernardino County of Southern California. And I was inspired, and I just want to show them some love. It was very, very inspirational. All the great educators in the room trying to make it happen, trying to focus on validation, affirmation, you know, and just serving our underserved students and keeping it student-centered, despite, you know, there's always adult issues, of course. And so I'm gonna shout out some love to Rialto with inspiration, and I'm hoping that they can use that to carry it into 2026. So what word are you gonna show some love for someone in the room that they can carry to 2026? So those are our 3 affirmations. Those of you who are new to the podcast, we always start off with affirmations, just like I start off with all my presentations with affirmations, and you can check those out at our YouTube page, Validate Affirm. We have some examples of how this looks in a real live audience if you're interested. But now it's time for Dr. Holly's 2 cents.
Dr. Holly's 2 cents, 2 cents, 2 cents. Don't get it twisted.
Dr. Holly's 2 cents. Here's what I've been thinking.
Listen up.
I really just want to focus on just the positivity of allowing our students to validate and affirm. And, you know, we get a certain energy that's positive when our students get to be their authentic selves. And the theme of this year thus far has been our BU. That's allowing students to be engaged their own unique way. And I want to make sure that we continue that focus. And if you read our sort of newsletter blog, it would be like a Substack, but it's not. Maybe it should be. We are focusing on different cultural behaviors that our students can authentically be themselves, whether that is, you know, the kinesthetic movement that comes along with youth culture, that comes along in some cases with gender culture, whether it's sociocentrism, which comes along with youth culture again, but also ethnic culture. I was having a conversation with someone about the notion of sociocentrism. Part of it is the circular discourse that comes with being sociocentric. And that means that, you know, some of us tend to go on tangents or apparently go off topic. But really, if you understand that tangent culturally, it has a purpose, right? It has a purpose when you go on a tangent, and you know, the linguists, we call it circular discourse pattern, right? We're going around the corner. We're going to get on the bus. We're going to take a train just to go across the street. However, it serves a purpose. A point is being made. But as I was explaining that to the group or to the person I was talking to, I also said, but you got to bring it home, right? You can't just stay out there. And I love it when our students are using their circular discourse patterns authentically. And sometimes we have to remind them, we have to say, bring it home, bring it home, bring it home, right? Those are examples of BU, right? And so the whole point is, what are the ways that we can validate and affirm our students and allow them to be their authentic selves culturally without having to worry about being punished or forewarned or so on and so forth? That this is our focus this year. And so I wanted to use this time just to remind us of that and think of the ways that you can allow your students to be their authentic selves culturally and linguistically. Let's throw that in there. The use of their home language, the use of youth culture focused language, you know, in terms of slang and so on and so forth, right? You know, as long as obviously it has to be in a way that honors everyone and doesn't bring levels of discomfort, but it's something that's very valuable and something that we want to be focused. We're going to continue this focus all the way throughout this school year. So there will be more on that. And if you want more, you can go to our website, look under CLR Plus. That is our sort of insider page, but we have what we call the BU posters there. And you can get a lot more on what I'm referring to. And they're downloadable, and it'll give you ways that you can allow your students to be their authentic selves culturally and linguistically. Now, let's bring on our very special guest to end our 2025. He is Dr. Albert Johnson Jr., widely known as Dr. J. Skates. He is a veteran education leader and former principal with more than 18 years in education. A high school dropout turned scholar, he shares his transformative journey from a traumatized youth to a celebrated principal and educational researcher. His memoir, Dr. J. Skates, Confessions of a Roller Skating Principal, chronicles that path and offers research-based strategies for supporting trauma-impacted students, drawing on his doctoral work on risk and protective factors for high school success. As principal of Two Rivers High School in Minnesota, Johnson became known for his heart-centered, trauma-informed servant leadership, helping improve school performance and culture while maintaining strong staff retention. Often seen roller skating through the halls as a way to connect with students, he advocates for mental health resources, resilience, and hope, and continues his work through writing, speaking, and projects like Dr. J Skates, A Story of Resilience. With that said, let's bring on a very trusted and esteemed and beloved colleague, Dr. Albert Johnson.
All right, welcome, Dr. Al. How's it going?
Doing really well, Dr. Holly. How are you doing?
I can't complain. 80 degrees in December. I'm not going to complain.
You know what? And I would be jealous had I not be down here in Texas, where coming from Minnesota. So I get it. I get it. It feels good.
Yeah. And I kind of have already told people about our connection and the Minnesota to the Texas and how we kind of connected. But what I didn't know, and what was a very, very inspiring and pleasant surprise, was your authorship and the book that you have that we want to promote. We want you to blow up and just tell people, just we have you as an educator, but I really want to hear more about the author side. Yeah. And a little bit about the book, and we're gonna pump it up all throughout the episode. But it's just good to hear it straight from you, Dr. J.
I appreciate. Yes, sir. Dr. J. We like I said, we've got a long history, you and I, and I threatened to write a book many years ago, and I think what it took was for me to get some more perspective. I could write something, but I didn't feel like I didn't know what voice I wanted to use, what stories I wanted to tell, and the time to do it. And so I got to a place where I started getting frustrated with some things. Externally, I'm looking around the landscape of education and law, and I'm having this disconnect. And then I'm like, okay, I'm approaching an age where I could retire. And what's going to be the next leap for Al? And so I'll say, let me do this. I want to start telling some stories about things I didn't know about when I was going into education. Coming from a background of not being a classroom teacher, but being an educator, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and so I'm confessing, first off, there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I will always confess I'm not the smartest person in the room. And there are some things that I know I can handle that's in my control, and that's outside of my control. And where I think educators get themselves into trouble is trying to control everything and not saying, hey, I may not know how to talk to an Al, or let's call him Junie, the younger version of me. I may not know how to talk to him, but I'm not going to confess that. I don't want to seem incompetent, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and push on, not knowing that I'm going to harm a child.
Right.
I'm going to harm a Lisa, or Tonda or Greg or Larry. Those are my siblings.
Right.
All of us had different experiences. And so I wanted to write something that would give folks a glimpse into my life a little bit. If you ever ran across someone like me, don't do these things, but do these things. Mm-hmm, I've had to take a lot of bumps and bruises, and I share this in the book. I'm a high school dropout.
Right.
I'm a child of a single mother, and all the things. But there are counterbalances to all of that. If we press into it, if we dare to press into it, and so I've got some thoughts about that.
Yeah. No, man. I mean, your story, when like I said, I already knew you, but I didn't know you, right? And this is why I love the podcast, because I get to learn more about people that I've become associated with and bonded with. But you are literally the old saying, you don't look like what you've been through, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things I would have never ever guessed, just because how you've, kind of came out on the quote unquote other side. And not saying you're, finished, but just talk a little bit about that. Just kind of, because we use this motif with students all the time, right? In the sense of saying you can make it through. But your story is a living embodiment. It doesn't even have to do anything with being a teacher or not. You know what I'm saying? Just being a person in life. Like if I met you on the subway and started hearing your story, I would be inspired. So just talk a little bit about just that arc.
Yeah. So this I'll share this. I feel that I've been really blessed through the traumas, the situations, the adverse childhood experiences that I've had, to be able to come out on the other side and be able to identify someone that might look like me. And so when I'm sitting down thinking about, I'm in St. Cloud, Minnesota, at an alternative high school where students have gone through different forms of trauma. I asked the question. I was there with the facilitator, and we asked the question to a group of students, 25 of them. Tell me about a time that you were hurt by an adult. And then it was a writing workshop and had them write out a time. And as they wrote, I'm like, I remember that, my own life. I remember that, my own life. I remember growing up on 33rd and Park Avenue in South Minneapolis. I remember thinking that money comes in multiple colors, not knowing that there were food stamps. Right. Right. I remember the silence of not having a father in the house. I remember those times. I remember the times of looking around everybody that had a dad around them, and some of my buddies didn't have dads either. So again, I'm thinking this is normal. I think people live. It's normal to have this big block of cheese that never melts. Right. And I remember the shopping at Kmart, or back in the day it was like Kresge's, I think it was called. And there's the bin of shoes, and I remember that's school shopping for me. And not that I'm a little bougie now, because I can only eat Heinz ketchup. I don't want any other brand. Right. But I do remember the lonely nights. I remember the mother that was raising the 5 kids and not knowing how she was going to do it, but mom had the work ethic to where she's keeping on 2 or 3 jobs. I remember the addiction in the house, to the different things. Okay. So I can connect with people that have been there. I'm going to go a little bit further, if that's okay. Because I am who I am. I can remember a time when I found myself rebelling. Okay, and I end up in spaces with predators that I did not know that was out to get me when I'm under 18. Right. Okay, I remember those times. Some of these things I block out. I blocked out, and I did not know how to get to the other side of that. I couldn't see it. There were some examples, but they weren't tangible examples because I had not reconciled the anger that I had from my father, who left when I was little. Yeah. Now imagine, I grew up Albert Johnson Jr. I didn't meet Albert Johnson until I was 18. Wow. So there was a little bit of anger, and it came out sideways, because up until that point I was telling stories about who my dad was. Sure. I was making up stories. So people ask me, he was a pilot, all this all of this stuff, and I'm pumping him up. And then I went to meet him. My mother bought me a ticket when I was 18 years old to go meet him in Flint, Michigan. I'll never forget. He met me in the airport. And I'm looking, he's peeking through a glass, and he's looking at it. I said, that's my dad. He's about this tall.
Yeah.
Wanted to be Sammy Davis Jr. And I think I spent 3 days with him. And what's crazy, because I was really, really deep into roller skating then.
Yeah.
I took my roller skates with me to Flint, Michigan. I spent 3 days with him. And back in that at the day, I am GQ Junie, so I dressed to impress back in the day. And I remember my dad saying, "Hey, clothes don't make the man." And I said, "Who gave you the right to tell me that?"
Right.
Right. I just met you. You don't know me. And I called my mom, and she got me on a plane right back to Minnesota. And that was the last time I saw him. He passed away about 3 years later of a massive heart attack.
Oh, man.
And so that anger remained with me.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
That anger remained with me. But up until that point, though, I had already dropped out of high school. I was the quiet, really nice kid that flew under the radar. Okay, that I'm not going to tear up your class very much. I'm probably not going to show up at school though. Right. I'm going to be doing all these other things. So when high school graduation time came around, I didn't have enough credits to graduate, and I had 2 jobs already. Mom said either get a job or go to school. I'm like, I'm good. I got my little sim security job working at the Metrodome, and I'm working at a florist at this time, and so I did that. So we dropped out, and there's some pieces I would like for us to talk about. The road, the path that there's, if we really get serious about helping all kids, could have been prevented.
Sure.
My dropping out could have been prevented.
Yeah.
If I'm the only one in my family to drop out of all the kids, now I did go back to school, but it could have been prevented.
Right. No. Right. Yeah. So let's come back to that, and let's kind of move into your journey. In terms of equity and cultural responsiveness. So, given all that you had gone through, when did you sort of begin to recognize that you had an eye for equity? That you had the spirit of service to the underserved. Now, this is before you got into education. I'm thinking early on. I try to get into the early years because I have a hypothesis that our work was predetermined. Like we were seeded to do this work. Yeah. And so I'm trying to get into when did people recognize it early on.
I'm trying to think back when. And so I know I was in my 20s after I've had a couple of children, and I love telling stories. I love being that dad. Bring all the kids over here. I got them. Oh no, you're not gonna fight. And I was that dad. Really trying to build into the kids. When I first understood, and the language of equity, I didn't understand. I didn't know. It's like either it's fair or not fair. I started to see some odd things happening. So I went back to school. In January 6, 2002. I made peace with my dad. I went to Flint, Michigan, went to his graveside. I made peace with him, and I made peace with my God.
Yes.
I asked to be changed.
Okay.
Completely gave my life to Christ, and from that moment, I was changed. From that moment, so I go until April of 2002, become a deacon in my church, and then in September, preached my first sermon. Pastor then puts me in charge of the youth. Okay.
Gotcha.
So now I say, okay, I've got a calling, I've got a purpose on doing what's right for children, whatever it looks like. And I didn't think I was going to go into education then because I was into sales then, and sold all kinds of great stuff. I was making a lot of money in sales. in 2006, my sons went into the Hopkins School District. My kids did.
Okay.
Okay.
We know Hopkins.
I got into the Hopkins School District and I met a Mr. Willie Jett.
Gotcha.
And he was a principal at the high school at the time. And just getting to know him a little bit, I started going into the schools as a salesperson to speak to students one day a month. And my job was just, I was going to inspire them. I tell them what it takes to be successful in business. I had got my GED, so I had been rocking my GED, you know.
Right.
But I was really building into them. I said, hey, you know what? This is like the best part of my month, when I get a chance to go into my kids' school and help support them. The turning point happened in 2007 because I really started to see what was happening to my second youngest son, Zachary. He was having the same lived experience in school that I did, but I couldn't put a name on it. At that time, I also read the SHOT report.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I learned about the achievement gap.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a real thing. And so now I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, I just read. Is anybody else seeing this in education? Because this is blowing my mind right now.
Right.
I took that opportunity then to actually, that's when I went back to school to get my bachelor's. Got my bachelor's, and every writing that I did from my bachelor's up until my doctorate all had to do with the exact same subject.
Yeah.
It was talking about the exact same thing. So I got stepped deeper and deeper. My first job then in education was as an equity integration specialist in the Hopkins School District.
Nice.
And I didn't really understand the work then. I say that because I could read the books. I went to courageous conversations about race. Learned about that. I had my experience with Dr. Shiraki Holly, and I got that, and then I got another experience. But I really didn't understand, what are we really talking about when we're talking about equity? What does it mean? And so my definition then started to crystallize, if you will. For me, providing the greater amount of resources to where the greatest need is. Emotionally, academically, physically, to that child.
Yeah.
So for me, that the equity piece is huge.
Yeah.
Because we have kids hurting.
Yeah.
We've got kids hurting. And so I have been pushing since 2007 an agenda. We're going to support the students that need it the most. And those students look like me.
Yeah.
You know, if I go to certain communities, it looks like some of my Latino brothers and sisters.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In St. Cloud, it began to look like some of my Somali students.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
With a little bit of nuance. In every space, I have been really working that. Now we know that it's gotten difficult after a while, and over the last so many years. But what's interesting is an experience that I had in a rural school district northwest of Minneapolis. In that district, I was assistant principal, then became a director of equity services. And I think when I became director of equity services, I really learned that the approach that I must take to ensure equity in schools has to be different. With the new initiatives of our current administration, the approach that and actually over the last 4 years, my 4 to 5 years, my approach to equity has been different.
Got you.
Okay, I don't say equity.
Right.
I don't say CLR. I don't say critical race theory. I don't say any of those things. I don't have to. The same way that I pray that I walk like a man of God, I don't have to have my Bible with me for you to know what I'm doing.
Right.
You know, it's the systems and processes that are set up that oppress certain students and elevate other students. We get rid of those.
Let me ask you. I thought you were going to say, "What do you say?" But you're saying you don't say anything. You walk the walk. Is that what you're saying?
I don't have to say. No. Right. Let me see your grade book.
Right.
Let me see what it looks like. You know.
Right.
Or I do something like this here. I go into a media center, a library, and I put up all the pictures of all of our kids, and I said, I need you to go put this sticker on the students that you have relationships with. And then at the end of the day, let's see who we don't have relationships with.
Right.
Now
right.
we see who we don't have relationships. Now let's see what does their attendance and grades and discipline look like.
Right. Right.
What are the systems we need to switch and change so that they're finding success?
Now, let me use this to segue to our second question, because essentially what I just heard was you sort of had a transformation spiritually in terms of like when you connected it to your dad. And, you know, I have a very similar story, too, that I'm going to share in the post interview of this in terms of I made peace at my father's grave as well. And I hadn't, but I didn't get to really meet my dad. I mean, I didn't get to connect with him in a way that at least you had a little bit of connection.
Yeah.
But I had to, like you said, you harbor a lot of anger, and I had to release that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to tell that story right now because I want to keep it focused on you, bro. So tell me about when you like witnessed an inequity that was kind of jarring for you, even though you had like an academic sense of it. But I call this, as you know, my moment of recognition, the slap in the face, or if we want to stick with the religion, the Saul to Paul, if you will, where you really kind of said, damn, like this is serious as an educator now.
You know, there's there's been some moments, some that I thought were subtle, where I would say, okay, I'm going to look at all my 9th grade Algebra 1 students and look at the list of students who have passed the class and who's failed and see that, you know, 70% of the failures are young black boys. I asked the question, okay, why? Let's look into that. Why is that? What are we going to create to remediate and get them back on track? That would be one. Another time where I really put a shift in how I approach seeing all children when a student was killed. And she killed on a Sunday. She was killed on a Sunday, and I knew that she was only one night school credit away from graduating. And so, what could we have done? And more frankly, what could I have done? Because I was the leader of the school to change that child's trajectory. Why was I living by the system that had been in place that? We really don't accelerate students. We really don't do things that way. We have this timeline. Why?
Right.
We're to educate children. And so I know the timeline is about money. The more students I can keep in seats for this amount of time, I'm going to get more money. But if someone's life's on the line, that ADA is not going to help.
No.
So that at that moment, I know when that happened, how I lead a building has changed. Absolutely. It has changed, and it's continuing to shift. There's a conversation that I'm also having, not just in my school, but with our community, and specifically the African American Black community, because our students get suspended a lot for fighting.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about zero tolerance policies, but let me ask you this question: why are black kids fighting?
Right.
That's a taught behavior on how to communicate frustration. And then when a student is in that space, they are not in the creative space of the brain where I need them to be when they come into my school. Right. So there's some work that I do that I've been trying to do around that. So that was the one space. When I seen it work really well, we had an opportunity after COVID to reimagine what our schools could look like. And so in 2021, I went in to work at what was formerly Henry Sibley High School, Two Rivers High School. And the superintendent, Dr. Olson Skog, and assistant superintendent, Dr. Peter Mile, gave me the opportunity to say, okay, Johnson, run the school. They read all my articles, all me roller skating up and down hallways, all the things, how I feel about unconscious bias, and how it shows up in schools and all of that. They knew what they were getting. They say, okay, we're going to trust in you, run the school. And so what I did was I went about running the school as I thought all the lessons that I had learned. Okay. They didn't know CLR walked up in there, but it did.
Yeah.
They didn't know all this, but it did, and it allowed us to build relationships, and then now look at our systems and processes to where some students were being held back, but other students were not being brought along.
Yeah.
Okay, so we started with the 9th grade process. I have the phenomenal director of curriculum instruction and my assistant principal, Dr. Jessica Kabak. They did a card sort of our 9th graders because we were going to implement a new 9th grade program. What I mean by card sort is they took all the 9th graders and laid them all out on a card with their class list on it. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then they took the students that were in advanced level classes, and then so you have a profile of what an advanced level class student looks like, and then we had another pile over here of students that were not in advanced level classes, but had the exact same grades as the other students, and the question was why. Mm-hmm. There's an educational equity issue here if all these students that fit the profile are not in that classroom. Right. And so we were able to change how students are identified and encouraged to be in higher level classes, which we know is that trajectory to get into higher education or wherever else you want to be.
Sure.
And so that was an equity initiative that didn't say it, but that's what it did. And schools just continue to thrive.
This is a very deep question. Do you believe that the change can come within the system, or it needs to come outside of the system? Because as I'm listening to you, it seems like you really feel like you can go inside and make change. Am I reading that right?
You are. I think the system can be cracked.
Uh-huh.
I think it can, but what it takes is something that's uncommon, that I've only found it in one school district so far, but I'm looking for it.
Okay, you didn't help your case right there, but I feel you. Yeah,
but because this is how it needs to lay out. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to have, first off, a superintendent and assistant superintendent and other level individuals in our colleagues in the district office that have the same values.
Yes. Yes.
Not different work values and home values, but the same values as you, that are willing to walk their values out in your school, in your district. When you have that, then they're going to give you the autonomy to do what you need to do.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
And so still working with inside of a system, but it's a beautiful thing when you get that, because then you also have your school board who's on board with what you're doing. You're not getting the political pushback.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. In my experience, man, when I can count on my right hand, when all those things, all those entities that you just mentioned all line up, board, senior cabinet, and then that central office leadership, I can count literally, I would say, I've been doing this for 20 years, man.
Yes,
I could count it 5 times that all 3 of those lined up.
Yeah. And why isn't that the blueprint?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question right there.
Yeah, because then you have students that can get to self-actualization quick.
Right.
They can get there. You that's where you get your 98% teacher retention, because people want to be there.
Right.
That's when you get communities that used to go to private school coming back to your school.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you
that's
built.
huge. That's huge.
That's what you've built.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, at my last school, Dr. Holly, it was May of 2022. student enrollment was 1,350. When I left, 1,720.
Wow.
Within 4 years. That is recapturing your community.
Right.
Okay? Because and they know exactly what's happening in the space. Let's talk equity. People aren't afraid of you doing equity, but they need to know how it's going to help their child.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Yes. Yeah, and that's across racial boundaries. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. You know,
all right, let me do this. Let's pivot to a little lighter, and let's talk about the rings of culture.
Yeah.
We center culture in our work, and which two resonate with you. But I also want you to throw in the culture of being a skater, and particularly a roller skater, because that's a culture in of itself.
Yeah.
And just that get us all like, how did you get into roller skating, and how's that played a part culturally for you?
Yeah, it shows up. It shows up. So I was looking at the ring of age. Only because I just turned 60 in May.
Congratulations.
And I don't act my age. I refuse.
No, you don't look it either.
Age is a mindset, people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a mindset.
Right.
But I lean into the ring of religion, or faith.
Yes.
Okay, so I put faith there,
Awesome.
and faith is my number one value. Everything that I do flows from there.
Right.
With my faith. Is how I take care of my family. It's how I look to make a difference in other people's lives. It's how I will, if I work as an assistant principal, I'm okay with that because I will submit to someone else's authority as part of my faith of who I am. I'm not trying to get your job. Okay, I need to apply for your job if I want your job. Those kinds of things. So I lean into that ring, and I try my best to try to lean into youth culture, because that's a space, because I want to know what our students, our scholars are experiencing.
Yes.
And so it's still age. I know that I know my age and my faith, but if I don't allow my age to dictate how I behave sometimes, to connect with the staff member, because I'm getting to the point, Dr. Holly, where I'm getting to be the oldest person in the building, which is fine.
Right.
But I lean into that. I started roller skating when I was probably really roller skating in 7th grade. I was at the roller gardens in South Minneapolis, and roller skating for me growing up was my counterbalance to trauma. Me roller skating was when I was free, and I would roller skate not to impress anybody. I got to that point. I'm out there because now I'm free. I have the freedom. All the worries of what's happening in South Minneapolis is gone. The lack of education is gone. I'm the smartest person in the room at that point when I was skating back in the day. Oh, yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. I got my family. I've got Jimmy, and I got Keith, and I got Dennis, and the other Albert, and we're in a train, and roller skating, and we're getting it before Usher made it popular again.
Right.
There were Dr. J skates out there doing his thing. What's beautiful about that is I've brought that with me. I believe you've talked about it, how important it is to bring who you are, your authentic self, into every place that you go.
Right.
And so how you hear me talking right now, I'm the exact same person at school.
I know. I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't change. I don't change. And I brought my skates out for the first time in my new building last week.
Okay.
I wish I had them. I wish I had them with me right now. They're a pair of, I think, Jordan 10s.
Nice.
Listen, with the Chicago dance plate, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm telling you, they roll nice. But that helps break barriers.
Yeah.
I've not been in a space where I have had too many people say, "Man, this why are you wearing skates? No, they're like, oh my God, you're wearing skates.
No,
You know?
right.
Yeah, no, I am the roller skating principal. This is what you're going to get. You know?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that at one time, roller skating was so part of the culture, and then it kind of faded. And I think now it's in a weird way making its way back, because I just see more people doing it, and you know, the roller rinks are seem to be bumping. You know, they took them out of the hood where I live, but they're still available in surrounding areas. So when I saw that and I read that, it just was very, very like timely, because it kind of go like, this explains everything, because it fits who you are.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
Perfectly, right?
Yeah.
It just fit. Like I can see you. I can see you skating. Like, and it's like, oh no, that's Al. Definitely.
I'm gone. I am gone. And our kids need a safe, clean way,
right,
to express who they are and energy.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Right?
Yeah. I don't even know if they would allow it these days because of all the concerns. Could kids do roller skating at school or no?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of gym classes. They'll do roller skating. They'll do roller blading.
Rollerblading. Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. Right.
But we're gonna roller skate in there. You know,
Yeah.
I've made several pairs of skates for students. This last year, I think I made 5 pairs of skates for students.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
they
awesome.
bring.
Yeah.
I said, just bring me the shoe. This is what it needs to look like, and I'll hook you up. And so this upcoming Friday, we're gonna have our first little skate party. So I'm gonna post on my link. I'm gonna post on my LinkedIn the Fit Friday with roller skates, man.
Yeah.
Attention educators, instructors, and lifelong learners. We know that you are passionate about creating CLR classrooms. You can stay connected to the latest conversations, resources, and events by following the Center for Culturally Responsive Teaching and Learning, CCRTL, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky. Just remember, validate, affirm. That's all you need to find our profiles. Join us on Facebook at Validate Affirm. See inspiring stories and quick tips on our Instagram at Validate Affirm. See lesson demos, tutorials, and presentations on our YouTube page at, you guessed it, Validate Affirm. Join our vibrant online community and discussion on Blue Sky at Validate Affirm. See? You're getting it. So, what are you waiting for? Search Validate Affirm today on your favorite platform and start engaging with us. Let's transform education and make a difference together. Follow, like, share, and subscribe, and help spread the message of culturally responsive teaching and learning. See you online.
Okay, so let's transition from there to this notion of situational appropriateness, culture switching. What it boils down to me for is you had to culturally or linguistically adapt, as we all do.
Yeah, we do.
And the question is, were you successful or not?
I am finding I have found, again, times of very good success. My hope is I want to be able to speak what I have to the masses. And so that's across cultural lines. I was tested when I went into St. Cloud, Minnesota, which is quasi-urban, because having one of for sure the second largest Somali population in Minnesota, which is like the 3rd or 4th in the country, having to code switch to working with a more Muslim population was not something I was comfortable with.
Yes,
I did because I didn't understand the culture. And one of my confessions was that when I first walked into my first mosque was in St. Cloud, I felt a certain kind of way, and so I found myself code switching when I was there into that space. What I had to center myself with was, what is my passion? What is my purpose? Making a difference in people's lives and making sure that children are good. And so, taking it off of me and letting it land how it lands, either being a mosque or a synagogue, I'm here to support your child. I need your help. Okay, so that was one piece there, but I know for sure, going into a high school where I'm the first African American administrator in that district's history.
Wow.
At that high school, yeah, that was I had to be I was very cautious and intentional with my words as I showed up as my authentic self, knowing the situational appropriateness, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm having a conversation with a donor who wants to give $1 million a year in scholarships to the school, I'm going to be a little bit tighter in how I communicate. I'm going to speak a little bit slower and be really, really intentional.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
When I'm out on the football team with the boys and just really getting after them, I'm going to shift there. But I find though I shift less. I have shifted less in Minnesota.
Yeah.
In Texas is a different animal.
Talk a little bit about that. Yeah, because I came down here very arrogant. Because I have a lot of systems. I have a big network in Minnesota. Yeah. And everybody, most people knows my stuff and know what I'm about. No one knew me down here. Right.
No one knew me down here, and so I found myself going into interviews, and at one point really stepping outside of who I am. I'm like, that didn't even feel good.
Right.
I went into an interview, and for to be a principal, and they put something in front of me. Actually, it was a notebook and a piece of paper with a prompt, and said, "Now we want you to write out a professional development, because based on this data, we want you to write out a teacher plan and a lot of these pieces, and then we're going to give you 15 minutes, and then we want you to come back and explain it all to us." And for the first 7.5 minutes, I kind of sat down and looked at the paper, and then thought, okay, now how do they really want me to answer what they just asked me? And so I found myself going back in there, and I'm speaking all the educational E's and using all the different acronyms, but that's not who I am.
Right. Yeah. That's so good.
It didn't allow me to straight talk about how we love on staff, how we love on students, how we change in systems to create a better environment for everyone. And you'll see there was no space for that.
Yes. Amen. Yes.
I'm trying to keep my job that I currently have. We'll see how that works out. because here's the thing. I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I know there's a lot of really good systems and processes that allow students to be successful. I also know this. I have seen systems and processes that are terrible for kids and adults alike.
Yeah.
And I'm having this cognitive and almost a physical reaction to some of the things that I'm seeing in my current space.
Right.
And so I'm trying to find the words, the situational appropriateness to have conversations with people that can make a change in what they're doing.
Okay? Yeah. Got you.
It's another conversation you and I can have, because I can lay it out for you, and it is clear. It is clear why you're losing teachers and students, and they're
Absolutely.
not achieving.
Yeah, and that's kind of all over, right? It's not specific to one place or another. So it's kind of like it's just part of what we do, and it's unfortunate. Let me ask you this though. Since you did bring up St. Cloud and you mentioned the second largest Somalian population, and I've been to St. Cloud, obviously, but how does it make you feel to hear what's being said about Somalians from the political aspect, from the current administration, and it's all in the past couple of weeks, just living there, being there, because I know how I felt just as a visitor and being able to spend a little time and being honored to do so.
Yeah. I think what has happened. I don't like it. I have some friends that are Somali, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
They're amazing. There's situations like when we gave students computers without teaching them how to use them, we were setting them up for failure. When we give students cell phones that can do all kinds of things without teaching them how to use it responsibly, we're setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
Okay? When we don't create a system where I can't teach you how to parent, but I'm going to tell you some things on parenting that's going to help you support teach your child so they don't get arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we can start teaching some different systems that are not built around the dominant culture completely, if we can teach our Somali brothers and sisters a different way, because there's now this culture of getting over, which was the black culture for a long time. All I got to do is just get over. You know, if we were to go back into the early 80s with all the technology and stuff that we have now,
yeah,
it'd be interesting when the crack epidemic happened, right?
Right.
It'd be a whole different thing. Exactly. And so, but I've seen some really take advantage of the system.
Yeah.
Really take advantage of the system.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, we're saying some folks, right? We don't want to make sure people understand that. So let's end on our positive note in the context of what inspires you, what moves you, what grooves you. When you are on that incline and you need that lift up, that pep up, where do you go to? What's your well?
Well, if I'm at my house and it's Christmas, right? What you're gonna do is you're gonna go in my front yard and you're gonna see a 8 or 9 foot snowman blow up. You're gonna see a 10-foot blow up. You're gonna see my 22-foot Christmas tree blow up. You're gonna see the blow up I have on my roof. That's an elf that's kind of posing like he just finished doing a break dance. So part of my well is doing positive things around my house. Another well that I have is spending time with my grandchildren. Spending time with my family. We're laughing. The blessing of being down here is that I am around 3 of my grandchildren and 2 of my youngest boys, which is great. If I'm in a school, I'm going to be where kids are.
Yeah.
So I will have my tennis shoes on. I'll be in the gym. I'm playing ball, and I'm building into students. I've created a student affinity group. That's typically what I do when I go into school. And I've got about 8 or 9 young men of color, and I'm talking to them about what it really looks like to find academic and social success. That fills my bucket. When I can see it click.
Yes. Yeah.
Fills my bucket, right?
Yeah.
And then if I get really low, I'm going to go down to the primary and talk to some kindergartners.
Yeah. Well, man, I did not picture the blow-ups in the front yard, so you threw me on that one. That I would never guess. I would never guess.
I am the Black Griswold. You have no idea.
But I could see everything else. Well, I want to just say thank you. One thing I'll say, there was a lot of things said, and we're gonna have to unpack it. But the one thing, since the very first day I met you, like you said, man, you have been you, and you're just one of those spirits where when you meet somebody, you just know they're a good person. They're just you're a good brother. And a lot of people come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that," but then I never hear from them. But from day one, you told me I want to write a book, right? I want to do this, and you stuck to it, and we stayed in touch. And man, I'm just blessed to know you and to be in your circle. So I just want to say thank you. Just thank you for you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. My hope is that you got what you needed from our time. It was time well spent. That is my hope.
Oh, absolutely. We got more than enough. More than enough.
All right. That was great. Thank you, Dr. J. Skates. Thank you so much. And I just want to add a little more context to our relationship. I wanted you to meet Al first, and then I kind of backstory it. As usual, if you followed the podcast, I know a lot of people, obviously, just being blessed with years and years of meeting great educators around the country, which is really the origin story of this podcast, right? It was me meeting people over the past over 20 years or so, meeting great people and saying to myself, I wish people could hear their stories. But then, COVID brought an opportunity. And here we are 5.5 years later, great educators and authors like Dr. Al Johnson are coming aboard telling their story. But you should know that I originally met Dr. Al in St. Cloud, Minnesota, where we began doing some work under Willie Jett, who he mentioned, who is currently the state superintendent of education in Minnesota. So there you go. It's just like all the connections there. And, when I met Dr. Johnson, I was immediately knew that he was one of a kind. Very, very genuine. Just, you could tell just from the outset, a real good brother. And, we kind of hit it off. And at that time, he, expressed that he really wants to write and he wants to do his own book. And he said, I'm gonna stay in touch. I'm gonna be in touch. And, cause I want to pick your brain. A lot of people say that. And so I go like, okay, nice meeting you. But true to form, he did stay in touch. And over the years, as he moved from St. Cloud to another district, he always made it a point to reach out and say, hey, Sharaki, I just want to let you know I'm at so-and-so and, still trying to do this, still trying to do that, always in positivity. And, being from Minnesota was important to me just in the context of having exposure to African Americans in the context of racial, but also Black culturally as well. And I love, my interactions and exchanges with Al in that regard. I didn't realize that he had relocated to Texas. I happened to be in Minnesota and I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm gonna be in the area. Let's hook up. And then I hear that he's moved to Texas, but that's the way it be. You know what I'm saying? So I realized that Al and I have many similarities, but his story is an amazing story. The true word for it is transformative. And us understanding that when we have students like Al Johnson, we cannot give up on them. And in some ways, the system didn't work for him because he kind of went the non-traditional route, right? But as an educator, he's showing how we can make it work. And that's why I asked him about being inside the system, right? Versus being outside the system. Because he's still working within the matrix, if you will, and apparently having success. But I didn't realize that we share a common story that's very sensitive. And that is around, harboring a sense of anger in that we weren't raised by our fathers. We didn't know our fathers, spent very, very little time. I've told the story that I really only met my father 2 times. One, when he was in prison. And the second time is when he, was able to come to my 8th grade graduation, which was just for like a weekend, basically, not even that long. And so there was anger. And when Al talked about going to the gravesite and making peace, I actually did the same thing, which I took, like, when he said that, I was like, wow, you too. Yeah. My father, me born in Detroit, my father buried in Detroit, from Detroit. And while I was there doing some professional work, I took time to go to his gravesite, found out the cemetery, looked up the plot. It was basically unmarked, and made my peace, because you do carry some anger and some emotion with you that obviously needs to be unpacked. But it also feels good to just go and say your piece, if you will, and then kind of walk away not feeling that same type of anger. And so very interesting. And I wonder how many children harbor that same anger or that same feeling in general, but particularly our African-American boys, such as Al and myself. And something that, again, we should be mindful of as we work with our students in a culturally and linguistically responsive way. So with that said, I found that very, very interesting, as I hope you do as well, and be mindful of it. The other thing that I didn't know about Al, even though we were, was that he was a down hardcore roller skater. Man, I had no idea. And I could see him just roller skating in the school. That is so cool. And once again, very inspirational. And so please, folks, check out his book. It's called Dr. J Skates, Confessions of a Roller Skating Principal. You can find it on Amazon, of course. I'll just read the back cover for you. It says, on any day, any child can enter their school with a barrier to learning. It is imperative that we, the adults in this equation, seek to understand what barriers exist and create systems and programs to help each student overcome them and find academic and social success. Without question, I was one of these students, and I hope that my story, along with the research presented here, will help you better support our young scholars. And with that said, we're going to dedicate this episode to all the roller skating educators across the country. He's not the only one, by the way, that I know of. I actually know of two others, but all the principals, all the leaders who just kind of get in the mix with the students, we're going to dedicate this episode to. And I'm going to say happy winter break, happy kissing 2025 goodbye, and welcoming 2026 in. Please be safe. I'm going to give a last shout out to our great editor. I call him the magician, the A-Team, Andrew. And as always, stay fabulous and show outrageous love. We'll see you in January.
Outrageous Love, the podcast, is edited, produced, and includes original music by me, Andrew Hawheim, in association with Dr. Shiraki Holly and the Center for Culturally Responsive Teaching and Learning. If you have questions about our services, curriculum, or want to know more about how to bring outrageous love and cultural responsiveness to your area, visit www.culturallyresponsive.org to learn more. And please rate, review, and subscribe to Outrageous Love, the podcast.